In this video, we're going to be taking a look at using SketchUp for web and making modifications to an existing 3D model that we give you with our woodworking plans. So say, for example, you purchased a set of plans, in this case, a plan for a 5-foot bar, and the customer wants the countertop to be deeper than is standard and also wants some type of logo on the front of the bar. And so what I'll do is I'll use SketchUp to be able to show the customer what their finished product is going to look like so they get a better idea, and then they sign off on that drawing for them, and then we can go to work in building their project. But we have to know how to do it in order to be able to show our customer. So what the purpose of this video is not really to teach you how to use SketchUp per se, okay? We're going to go through it very, very quickly, but the purpose of the video is just to show you that with some basic knowledge of SketchUp, we're going to be able to modify our 3D models very easily and be able to create something new to show your customer that, hey, this is what your finished bar is going to look like, and it's going to be pretty cool. And also, it conveys to the customer when you give them this 3D drawing, it conveys to the customer. Sometimes I'll even do a 3D animation for them and really blow their minds. It just kind of will show them that, hey, this guy is pretty competent. If he can create these 3D models and these 3D animations, then this guy probably knows his stuff. Okay? So, with that said, let me show you how to do it. And I think you'll find out that it's actually quite simple. So let's go and let's get on the internet. SketchUp for web is a little bit hidden. So you got to go SketchUp for web. Just type in SketchUp for web. I'm using the Firefox browser, so you should get these options. So if I click on the second option, I get this website. And this tells us a little bit of how to use SketchUp for web, but doesn't really actually let us get into the application itself. Okay, so it's a free web-based software. So we click on that first link, and this is the site that we're looking for because that has a button on it that says Start Modeling. So we're going to click on that. Now, the first time that you try to open up SketchUp for web, it's going to want you to identify yourself, and you can do that using your Facebook or Google credentials, or you can create a new account through the SketchUp website itself, but it's going to want you to identify yourself. Now, once you've done that, then you'll be able to go into SketchUp for web and use it no problem. And it's free. It's a free software, and it's quite amazing. Now, they do have a really useful iPad version of SketchUp. And so on the workbench, when I'm actually building a project, I will have my iPad out with the 3D model for that project opened up, so that if I want to refer to the model or get a dimension that maybe is not in the plans, I can be able to pull the dimension from the finished 3D model really quick and easy. All right, so let's go ahead and we're going to open up a existing 3D model. So let's see here. We're going to go to our website. 5-foot bar. This is what we're going to be working with. Just our standard 5-foot bar here. Okay? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 5-foot bar and make it a 4-foot bar. So we're going to double click on our top. I'm going to isolate this one board out front here, and I'm going to push it in 12 inches. Now notice when I pushed it in 12, everything else went with it that it was attached to. And that's a pretty useful feature. So this board here, same thing. We're going to move it in 12. And then, which I don't think we actually did. So we just type in 12 on our keyboard and it moves it in 12. And then I'm using a lot of keyboard shortcuts. So I'm hitting M for move. And then we're going to move it in 12. Double click, P for push. So I tend to use a lot of keyboard shortcuts. But those commands are over here. That's our push command right here. This is our move command, for example. This is our orbit command. So all these things you'll hear me say I'm using, well, that's where you get those from. So move, move it over 12. We are going to modify the geometry, so we got to push that in 12. Okay, then we got to push all this in 12. So we're going to move that over 12 in the red axis. That, this, and this all get moved in 12 as well. This board is our shelf board. Now it needs to be 12 inches shorter. Then we have this board. All of that needs to come in 12 inches. Same thing over here. That all needs to come in 12. And then that really kind of gets us done. Now you see we have a 4-foot bar. But you can see here that this board is extending over, so we don't want that. So we're going to delete all of those boards but one. Okay, so now what I need to do is these trim boards on the front of our bar are kind of in our way at the moment. So let's go into tags and let's turn off two options. Let's turn off our top boards. I don't want to see those, and I also don't want to see my front trim. Okay, so I'm just going to modify from right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our front board here, we're going to move it from the midpoint of that board to the midpoint of that horizontal frame member. And then we're going to move this and copy it over. So I hit my control key to make a copy. And then we're going to, so I moved it over one board and we're going to say times 4. I really want 4 boards. And so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 boards. Now this is extending way past, so we're going to right click and we're going to say make unique, because we're going to modify this board, but we don't want to modify all of those boards it's attached to. So make unique, double click, P for push, and we're going to just push that back to this board right here. T for tape measure, and now that becomes 2 1/4 inches. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move this. I say move because we have to move to copy. So we hit move and then control key to make a copy. Select these 3, move, control key, and then you'll see it makes duplicates. Pretty snazzy, huh? So then we can go ahead and throw our front trim back on. Now for the next step that we're going to be doing, we will want our top boards on. So we'll turn that on. And I'm just going to spin this back around over here. I think it'll be a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to double click on our top assembly. And I'm going to make this just a little bit deeper. They wanted this just a little bit deeper. So 1 extra board depth. And let's come in here. Go to our orbit command. Look at it from down below here. Let's go ahead and double click and isolate this board. And let's move it 12, or not 12, 5.5. We only moved that 5.5. Well, we'll try that again. 5.5. Okay, that brings it out to the edge. But now these boards here, we need to push those out 5.5. And then zoom in here, and we're going to push this board out. Make sure we're in the edit mode of this board. There we go, 5.5. Okay. So now we've extended our top 5.5 inches. Okay, so I'm going to be happy with that. So I'm going to delete this top trim board because our next step, we are going to do something a little bit different here. So for our next step, let's go ahead and get rid of our top boards for right now. And we're going to make some brackets, some support brackets for our extended countertop. So we're going to go into the rectangle tool. And if you use your arrow keys, you can define what plane you want to create your rectangle in. Okay, so in our case, we want the red plane. And you could see in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, you see where it says dimensions? The big number is first, and then the little number. And that's important. When we enter in how big we want our rectangle to be, we want to enter it in that format. So in other words, my big dimension here is 6, and my little dimension here is 1.5. So I hit 6 comma 1.5, and you can see I get this little tiny rectangle out here in space. And I need it to be 1.5 inches wide. Okay, I'm going to grab my tape measure tool and come in 0.75, and then from the bottom 0.75, and then I'm going to hit my line tool and draw a line, and then my push tool, and I'm just going to pop. See how easy that is to add that little miter. So that is taken care of. That's a done deal. So let's go ahead and do that again. Again, we can define what plane we want our rectangle to be. We do want it to be in that plane. So again, look at your dimension. You'll see two different dimensions. This time, the small dimension is first, then the big one. So we're going to do 1.5 comma 8. Okay? And then we're going to push that 1.5, same as we did before. We're going to pull that over 0.75. We're going to pull this up 0.75. We're going to draw a line across those two and do the same little nip tuck along the bottom, and there we go. Okay, we are going to triple click, and that's fine. We can go ahead and triple click it all and make it all a component. There we go. All right, so now we need a little piece right here. So we're going to come in here. We're going to go back to our rectangle tool again. Again, we have to define what plane, and we're going to do 1.5 comma 10, comma 14. 1.5, and then we can triple click on it, make it a component, and then we can rotate it. Again, with the arrow keys on our keyboard, we can choose what plane we want to rotate in as well, which in this case we want to rotate in this plane. So we're going to rotate 45. And then we're going to move this somewhere along that edge over to this geometry. Now sometimes it's hard to get it to click exactly where we want it to click. But no worries. And then we'll just come back 0.5, I think. Something like that. Okay? Now, obviously, I need to trim this away, so I'm going to just draw a line right there. And then we're going to draw a line right there. And then we're going to push. We are going to push this over, get rid of that, get rid of that, and then we'll just have that little block there. I'm going to select all of that and make it a group. And there we go. Okay, so now all of this monkey business we don't need. I'm not sure why that even exists, but we'll get rid of that. We don't need it. And then we can position our bracket here. Now, this is kind of just drawn out here into space somewhere. So first of all, let's move it closer to our model. I'll just snap it anywhere along the model. It really doesn't matter at this point. But I will take it from here and move it right there to my trim piece, because that's where that one's going to be. So let's go ahead and look at this from this side now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move from this corner all the way over to here. And I did hit my control key to make a duplicate. Same thing, we're going to move from the midpoint this time though, control key, that will make us a duplicate, and then we're going to come to the midpoint of that center board. So we got something that's going on like that, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle here, and notice down below that if I come over to this edge, the big number is second. So all I have to do is type in 5.5, and it will automatically use the width. So we'll come out 0.625, because that's how thick that board is. And let's go ahead and make it a component. Now I'm also going to change the entity info. So we'll click up here on entity info. I'm sorry, not that. Yes, it is that. I forgot. But we want to define that as front trim, okay? Because when we go later on, when we go back into our scenes, we want to know what's what here, okay? Um, and then I'm going to go ahead and create a rectangle. One last little thing. I just think it's a cool looking little detail, so we're going to do it. We're going to go 1.5. We are going to push this to be 1.5 inches thick. We are going to triple click on that and make it a component. And then I'm going to move this to the bottom of that bevel right there. Right on that bevel. Okay, that's the way I want it. And then we're basically going to do the same thing. So we're going to move this over here, control click, and move it right there. And I just think that adds just a little bit of extra zhuzh. I just think it looks kind of cool. You wouldn't have to do that, of course, but yeah, I just think it adds a nice little element. So we're going to click on top boards. Go ahead and open that up. We'll close our entity info. We actually do need to add a new tag, so let's do that. Forgot about that. And let's call it counter. Let's see, counter top supports. Okay, so there's our new tag, and then we'll take these three groups and these two pieces, go into entity info, and yeah, we need to not sure what we did there. Maybe we have to do one piece at a time. I don't know. But we want it to be countertop supports. So countertop supports and countertop supports, so that if we were to turn off countertop supports, all those go bye-bye. Okay, perfect. That's what we were looking for. All right, now let's go ahead and let's go ahead and import our logo, which in this case is our Chiefs logo. So I'm going to import from my device. So we'll click on my device here, and let's go to the desktop, and let's choose Chiefs. Now this is a ping file that we're working with here. So it's a transparent ping file on top of that. So you can kind of see what we've got here. We'll scale it to whatever size we think it is. Well, I can live with that. Okay. And then the same thing. I'm going to move this from, if you get right there, see it says edge, edge, edge. If you find the midpoint in the image, and then we can use the midpoint in our piece of trim, and then we can just kind of eyeball it from there. Okay. So there you go. That is our modified bar that we can now show our customer. We can angle it any way we want to, whatever the case might be. Now, there is a bit of a drag on the free version. There is no way to export out of SketchUp an image to send to our customer by default. Okay, but that's okay because we can use you can just I usually use the Windows snipping tool, and then we just draw a box around it, and then then you could just save it as an image, and away you go. Okay, so let's just go ahead and save it as a Chiefs bar and click save, and then we could fire that off to our customer and get their approval. The drawback to that is the resolution of the image that you're exporting is limited to the resolution of your screen. I have a pretty high resolution screen, so it's not a huge deal, but that is one potential drawback to that. Okay, so pretty easy stuff. Now, one last thing I want to talk about is what did all those changes do to our scenes? So let's go back over to scenes here. Let's go to my scenes, and you're going to see that, see, because we have a new, you can see that it did mess with our scenes because we have two new layers here. So what we're going to have to do is, in order to fix that, we'll go back over here to our tags. I keep saying layers. I meant tags. Okay, so so what we'll have to do is we'll have to turn off uh, what uh, so we'll have to turn off countertop supports for sure. And this we didn't actually define a layer for. So let's do that now. A tag. I'm sorry, tag. I'm so used to using layers, but they changed the name to tags, okay? So I get confused. Um, but let's see here. So there it is, logo. Okay, so I do need to define that in entity info though, so let's do that. There it is. Okay, so now that's taken care of, okay? So it's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a bit of a hassle. But now we're back over here to the front 2x assembly. I'm going to have to go back into tags because I didn't mean to do that. So we're going to have to turn off logo and we're going to have to turn off countertop supports. Okay, so if I click on this little icon next to it, you see where it says update? So I can click update and just click OK. And now when I move on to the next one. So same thing here. We're going to update. And I don't think there's a way to go and update everything. I really don't. So when I click on the, not sure what I did there. I do see what I did. I should have done that. Man. So what I'm going to have to do, according to this, I'm going to have to go into each layer. So first of all, I want to back up a few steps here. Well, it's not letting me back up as far as I want to back up, unfortunately. Okay, so all right. So what basically what I have to do, and this is a real pain. I didn't think I would have to do this. What I'm going to have to do in order to get my scenes back straight again, what I would have to do is, so I click on the add add counter supports. I have to turn off that tag at every scene. So I have to turn off the countertop supports and I have to turn off logo. So apparently, so I must have backed up and turned that off. So where this is not even tagged as the logo. See, it says untagged. What a pain. So there we go. So now that's taken care of. So now, yes, I have to turn off the logo, and then I can go back into my scenes here, click on that, and choose update. And just leave all those just like it is. And then when I go back to add shelf supports, it's going to bring those layers back. And I'm going to have to go back into tags, turn off logo, turn off countertop supports, go back into scenes, and then I can update and do that same process for every one of my scenes if I want it to be updated. So we're going to do, so that's kind of a bummer. So we'll update that final scene. Click OK. So yeah, I'm not in love with that, but it's doable. Okay, so that's it. That's how you modify an existing 3D model. Now I realize we didn't go into a lot of depth on how to actually use SketchUp, specifically, but it should give you enough interest that, hey, if you want to be able to do things like that very, very quickly and easily, SketchUp's the tool to use. It's really quite useful, great sales tool. And like I said, I think it helps build confidence to your customer, being able to create these 3D models for them. Now, this is for extra credit, okay? So if you just want to know how you can easily create a pretty cool animation, I'll show you how to do it. So under standard views, these are all the standard views that you can have, and these are the different perspectives. But we can use scenes to create scenes. You can see it says update active scene, play scene animation. So if we just did the scenes as they are, you see what it does for an animation. It'll just cycle through all the scenes that we've created. See, and it'll kind of go that route. So, well, what's my point in all that? Well, we can actually create different scenes, different views of our project, um, and be able to create different scenes. So if you want to learn more about creating animations, just look up our SketchUp video on creating animation. We'll create a cool little animation for the bar that we just created, and I'll show you how we can do that quite easily. All right? So thanks for watching this one. I hope you enjoyed it and learned a little something. Until next time.